Okay, the focus of this video is to create a Google Calendar using Google Sheets. To begin with, we're using a blank Google window, and we move the cursor up to the right-hand side of the blank Google window, hover over the 9-dot arrangement where we find our Google apps, left click. We see a drop-down menu, several icons in the drop-down menu. One we're interested in is Google Drive, so left click over Google Drive. You'll see your drive come up. It looks very different than the one you see on this video. This is my drive. You have different files in yours if you've worked in Google Drive already. You may have a completely blank interior to your Google Drive. I'm going to move my mouse up to the upper left-hand corner of this screen and hover over the oval, the rectangular oval with a rainbow colored plus sign and the word new, and I'm going to left click. At the top of the drop-down menu you see there are two options for uploading. One is just files and one is for uploading full folders. Then there's the lower portion of this menu that focuses on the creation of documents, Google Drive documents. The first, Google Docs, actually focuses on the creation of docs that look very much like Microsoft Word. And then there's Sheets that look very much like Excel. And then there's Slides, looks very much like PowerPoint. In this case, we're going to be using Google Sheets in order to produce a Google Calendar. I'm going to go to Google Sheets then, and I'm going to left click. When I left click, I see something that looks very much like an Excel file pop up on my screen. You can see the columns, you can see the rows. If you've never seen Excel, this is mainly an accounting type of software. Now that I've shown you how you get Google Sheets to come up and to start a brand new file, I'm actually going to move this out of the way so that you can see a file that I've partially started for you. This file will be what you work with in the completion of your assignment. I've already filled in the top row with some input, and I've already given some content to the second row of the first two columns. You'll need to fill in the rest. I'm going to show you also how to work with your tabs. This first sheet will be your first month, and this is the month of May. So I've already labeled your first tab as May 2021. But you're going to need at least 3 tabs because in order to complete your assignment, you've got to have at least a quarter of the year with some content on each one of the months of that first quarter. Doesn't have to be complex, doesn't have to be a lot of content, just enough to show me that you know how to do this. In this case, we want more than 1 tab. So I'm going to left click over this chevron, bring my cursor up to duplicate, and I'm going to duplicate 3 times to get a total of 4 months. And then I'm going to go back and rename these files, or these sheets, so that we get the right months. And I'm going to actually, I would do that under normal circumstances. I'm not going to do that now because that'll take too much time. So in the interest of time, I'm going to leave things as they are. I'm going to eliminate these so that we have a good starting point for your assignment. Okay, now that we've got that, let's go to the top and take a look at File. Under File, there's a number of things that are important to you. You can actually set share settings here as well as over here, this green button. This green button will allow you to do the same thing. You can also rename your file. You can also move the entire file to trash, and very significantly, you can also look at every historical revision that's been made to this file. Okay, and then looking at Edit, one of the important things under Edit, very typical here when it comes to undo and redo functions, cut, copy, paste. In this case, though, you can also find and replace. This file could be very big. We could do 3 years worth of calendar and have one item placed someplace inside of the total file. All we would need to know is what that item was called, and we could use the find and replace function, and it would take us right there. Most of us know what find and replace is about because most of Microsoft Office Suite uses that function. Okay, and then view. View is where we can actually set certain columns for freezing so that when we scroll, they don't move. We can also group items together. We can zoom. We can do full screen. We can do any number of things when it comes to the view function. We can also insert cells, rows, columns, and we have a sheet insertion function that is similar to our ability to insert a sheet down here. We can simply use the plus sign with a left click, and we see an additional sheet appear. That's in addition to duplicating our sheets. Okay, so there's several ways to do many of these functions. I'm going to delete this sheet. And then I'm going to move down to the cells. Inside the cell, left clicking any cell. When you left click to select it and then right click inside of it, you'll see a drop down menu that contains many of the functions I just went over with you. Inserting rows, inserting columns, deleting rows, deleting columns, deleting cells, show edit history, etc. You can also insert a note and insert a link. Up in this section, you can actually see type editing functions for bold, italics, underline. You can use a strikeout function. This is your font size. This is your font setting itself, the typeface. Here are also some items that help with setting up your sheet. You can fill portions of the sheet or just a single cell with a color. Or you can use the horizontal align to align the contents of a cell so that it's either flush left, flush right, or centered inside the cell. Just a demo of how that works. This is already flush left. I'm going to select center, then I'm going to select flush right. And then you can also set this for a link. Okay, you can set a particular cell for a link. I'm going to go with the selection of this cell, show you this is how basically we would set for a link inside the cell, a link to an outside document so that we had access to it from inside this particular file. I'll show you that in another video. And a final note, there is a technique for eliminating the amount of repeated typing that one has to do in order to complete a form like this, to input, copy or text into a series of consecutive cells. And it's nice to know from an efficiency point of view that all you have to do, for example, in order to get Thursday through, the balance of the week here, is select the cell and then place your cursor over the right-hand corner and left click and draw down. You'll see the hyphenated outline for the cells that we're covering at this point. I'm going to let up on the left click at this point, and notice how it fills in sequence, and it will repeat the days of the week in sequence as far down as I can draw this area. So I'm going to undo that change. This also works for the dates of the month, not just the dates of the week. These are automatic functions. I'll do the same thing here. Select the correct cell with a left click. Place the cursor over the lower right corner. Left click, hold, and drop down. And it fills in all of the months or the dates for that month as far down as we want to take that area. Okay, that should do it.